Welcome everybody to Success Training. We're going to work on our second part of vision. This is from the Life Skills of Leaders book, and this is part of our leadership curriculum that we do in our class. But what we're doing in our video seminar is a little bit different than what we do in our class, because in our class, we're going to be working on implementation physically with the rest of the students so that you learn to be able to speak in public, be able to perform, and have high levels of physical skills. So that's what our leadership program is about. In the video series here, we're going to be doing a little bit more detail on how you're developing vision in mental ways and giving you some more specific skills directly from the book. So let's get started. Vision determines where you go in life. So how do you get to where you want to go? This is part 2. You make sure you watch part 1 if you haven't done that yet. And in our book, you can read through this to follow, and if you haven't gotten the book, and it's available on Amazon. Level 2 is goals. So vision is a bigger picture than goals. They're different things. Vision is where you want to get to, and it's very important that you get to the point that you've got an idea of the end goal, that you want to be successful in life. And we've probably, if you've worked with us very long in the school, set at a time where we've talked about past, present, and future, and what your future goals are. And if you're a parent of a child, having a really big idea of where their future is going to be is critical. Now, goals are also critical, and for anybody that's an adult, you have to have these goals. What we know is the results. So the results of goal setting. Everybody's heard about goal setting, and you've been probably inundated with goals are important and setting goals makes a difference and blah, blah, blah. Well, there's real research to back that up. What the research shows is that you get 10 times to 100 times more results when you set goals. And you have to do it in a very specific way. You can't just write a couple things down and say that's your goal and not really pay attention to it. But just the act of writing your goals down does make a difference. It'll get you somewhere in this range, in the 10 times range. And when I say results, that might mean money in your bank account. That might mean better results with your friends and family, better relationships, better results in terms of your success at work. For kids, it would be better results in terms of grades. If they're in high school and they're on a sports team, better results in terms of their outcomes in sports. If you pay attention to what the outcomes you want are, which is your vision, then setting goals is going to make a difference. So we're going to spend a little bit of time here, and normally this would be like an hour and a half class. Don't worry, it's not going to be that long today. We're just going to spend some time in part 2 of our vision workshop here on how to set goals specifically. Later on, we'll talk about, once you do get your goals, how to accomplish them. So the results are based on research. So this is not just made up and we're not just talking about it, that you get 10 times to 100 times. And we're going to later, in a follow-up, we're going to talk about what the difference with 100 times means, how you can get 100 times more results. But what's the difference in getting, how do you start the process of setting goals, and how do you actually write a goal that makes some sense? Most people don't write goals that make sense, unfortunately. So I'm going to work with you on this. And for parents of kids, I've got to tell you, I'm going to be very straight up with you. Most of the time, your goals are not really goals. So what is a goal, and how do you write one that is actually a goal versus something that's not a goal, and what's the difference? And it may not be very clear until we go through this process. So this is going to be very important. And if you want to get 10 times to 100 times more difference in your life, this is something to pay really close attention to. So what are goals? Well, what our goals are things that are, it's a very easy acronym to remember, SMART. And this is, we're going to use, there's 5 specific things that determines whether something's a goal or not. It has to be specific. So in other words, it has to be something that you know what it is when you get there. So and that goes along with the next part of it, but you have to make it narrow. It can't be something like, I want to have world peace. I'm not sure what that means. It's probably different to other people. World peace for one person might be different from another. In Star Wars, world peace for the emperor was that he had control of everybody so that nobody could do anything. That was peace to him. That's probably not a good model for other people. So it has to be specific. You have to know what that really means. The other thing it has to be is measurable. And this goes along with the first one. So it needs to be measurable. It needs to be something that you can tell exactly what it is when you get there. So if your goal was to get stronger, well, that's not a goal. It's not a goal. If you said that was your goal, how would you know when you were stronger? Well, if you could lift 100 pounds of weight a certain way, and then your goal was to be able to lift 150 pounds, that would be something you could measure. So getting stronger is not a goal because you can't measure it. And it's not really very specific. Getting stronger with your bench press if you're a weightlifter, or getting stronger being able to walk upstairs with a bag of groceries. Maybe that's something some people can't do. That would be something a physical therapist might have as a goal for somebody that was having problems with that kind of thing. All right, the other thing that it needs to be is attainable. If I said I wanted you to get stronger and you could lift 150 pounds on the bench press now, and the next goal was, well, in the next week, I want to be able to lift 500 pounds. It could be a goal, but it's not one that really would make any sense because it's probably not reasonable for you to be able to do that. If I said, if you had $1,000 in your bank account and you said, well, by the end of the month, I want to have $10 million in your bank account, probably that's not very attainable. So it needs to be something that when you set a goal, you can see yourself getting there. Doesn't mean we don't want to have big, huge goals and be aggressive about our goals. But when we are aggressive about them, there needs to be something in our mind that we believe that that's possible. Because if we don't believe that it's possible, then the goal won't have any power, won't have any energy. And goals are very powerful. That's why you get 10 to 100 times more results in your life. The other thing, and this R, if you've seen this before, is often written incorrectly. So the proper R here is relevant. It needs to be relevant. So relevant means that it needs to matter to you. So just like attainable in your mind, you need to be able to see that the goal is something that you can achieve. Relevant means that the goal is something that matters to you. So if you said, well, I wanted to lose 20 pounds. Okay, well, that's good. That might be important. But if your doctor told you that if you don't lose 20 pounds, you're going to be in really bad health and you're going to have negative consequences, that would be a much more relevant goal. It would be more meaningful to you. So relevance is very important if you're going to set a goal that's going to be achievable. Same if we relate it to money. If you're going to earn $1 million, have $1 million in your bank account, that's great. If you didn't have any idea of what that meant, did that mean you're going to be able to retire at a certain time? Did that mean that you were going to save that money to buy a house? Did that mean, was there some meaning to that? Relevance is very important in goal setting. Just writing down a bunch of things that aren't that important to you wouldn't really matter. Okay, the last one is critical. It's time. Any goal has to have a time associated with it. So if I just say I want to be able to, let's use our example of lifting a weight. I can lift 150 pounds now. I want to be able to lift 200 pounds. That's my goal. Well, that isn't really a goal yet. When would I be able to lift the 200 pounds? If I say someday, there's nothing that spurs you to action. So you have to be able to have time related to the goal. So when I teach a seminar, and many of you have been to one of my seminars, and we write goals on a board, then we break a board, and I ask parents to write goals for their kids. And often I get them writing things like, be confident. Well, that's an important thing. That's certainly something that we teach and develop in martial arts. We know that we develop that. But it's not a goal. It's a thing that we develop, but it's not a goal. Now, what would be a goal? It would be, why isn't it a goal? Well, it's not very specific. It's hard to measure. It is attainable. It is relevant. So it's those two things. But it doesn't have any time in it either. Now, if the goal was to be, we know that confidence improves grades. So if a kid was getting B's or a B in math would be more specific, and the goal was to get an A in math by the end of this semester, that would be a very specific and measurable goal. We know exactly what it is. It's an A in math. It's measurable because we'll know when the report card comes in. It's attainable because they got a B. If they were getting Fs in math, an A in math probably wouldn't be that good of a goal because that may not be attainable. It's relevant because it would matter for school, and it would matter for their self-confidence too if they got if they got an A in math. And there's time involved. It's at the end of the semester. So that would be an example of a goal that would meet the standard that we have here. So goals need to be SMART, and you can remember this very easily: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time. And that's in the level 2 area, the second level of vision in our Life Skills of Leaders book. Hopefully that was helpful for you today. The next time we meet, we're going to be talking about level 3, which is going to be how you get to make the goals that you set into a reality, and also how you make a really good list of goals that you might want to, how you make a big enough list of goals, and how you make these goals big enough so that you can get that 10 to 100 times more value out of your life. Okay. By the way, last thing, this is really important for both kids, for parents of kids. You are the ones that set the goals for your kids. This isn't an exercise for kids to do. This is an exercise for parents to do for their kids. Until your kid's 18, you guys are the ones that set the goals for your kids, not your kids. If kids were going to set goals of what they really wanted, they might say they wanted to go to Disneyland, they might want to play video games, they might want to eat lots of ice cream. So this is important for parents to set. Doesn't mean that kids can't have input or kids can make decisions about what they might want to do for their future. But parents, the most important goals your kids are going to achieve, and the most important things your kids are going to do, are goals that you set for them. So as a parent myself, I know that that's really important. And I know that all parents that have really big outcomes for their kids, where their kids are really successful both as kids and as future adults, is because their parents took this part of it really seriously, whether they did it specifically like this or not. But they did a lot of work on setting goals early. So I'm sure you guys are all doing this because you're listening to the video here, and I look forward to working with you in the classes at our school, at our next master training seminar, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks a lot, and everybody have a great day. I appreciate you guys watching.